Welcome back, Defenders. Jake here. There's a lot of news to get to today, but we're going to start with another video of F-16s over the skies of Ukraine. You just need to see and hear this for yourself. Now that's the sound of victory and Russia's inevitable defeat. Now, I'm not an expert on F-16s. I did serve in the Air Force for 6 years, but I was a cave pilot. The Air Force mostly kept me underground in charge of our nation's ICBMs. So now that we have these pictures and videos of the jets, people who are experts on F-16s are talking about Ukraine's new capabilities. What exactly did Ukraine get? Loaded for bear, Ukraine's F-16 warplanes have new self-protection and latest air combat ordnance. These F-16 AMBM models, previously part of the Danish fleet, thank you so much to Denmark, come with modern upgrades and additional equipment that could significantly boost the Ukrainian Air Force's fighter capabilities. So let's scroll down and see what exactly are they talking about. And the first thing is Pylon Integrated Dispensing System, or PIDS. This dispenses metal chaff and hot flares to mislead incoming radar and infrared guided missiles. This is to protect the planes from Russian jets and Russian air defense systems. Also, Electronic Combat Integrated Pylon Systems, EKIPS, contains passive defense measures to support the active chaff and flares. This includes the AN/ALQ-162 radar jammer. This mostly goes over my head. I don't understand what exactly that means, but it sounds good. The fact that these F-16 AMs were equipped with AIM-9Ms, these are Sidewinders, and AIM-120s, these are AMRAAMs, in the video today underscores their initial air defense role, while they lack the capability provided by Actively Electronically Scanned Array, AESA radars, that equip the most new production modern fighters. So these F-16s, their initial role will be playing defense to shoot down Russian drones and missiles targeting Ukrainian cities. That's the top priority at this time. But as Ukraine gets more F-16s, more F-16 pilots are trained, more air bases will be stood up that can support these jets, they will be flying offensive combat missions and supporting their troops on the front lines. There is a drawback, and we should mention it. The radar systems on these F-16s from Denmark are not the latest and greatest. Hopefully with future F-16s, they will get the best and most advanced radar systems, or perhaps these F-16s can get the upgrade. And here we go. Ukraine successfully intercepts all 24 Russian Shahed drones in a nighttime attack. This was from 2 nights ago. I have no clue if F-16s were involved, but this is kind of what Ukraine has been telegraphing that they want to prioritize at this time. That was 2 nights ago. Last night, Russia launched 6 missiles and 16 drones targeting Ukrainian cities. 4 out of 6 missiles were shot down, and 15 out of 16 drones were shot down. And I just have to share a video of what ordinary Ukrainians are going through every day, every night. When the air raid sirens go off, when the text alarms go out, Ukrainians have to go to basements, they have to go to their bathrooms and shelter in place like this Ukrainian woman in Kyiv. This is almost every night, for hours on end. Russia has to be defeated. So let's follow up on a couple stories from my video from 2 days ago Satellite images show that a Su-34 fighter bomber was destroyed at this Russian airfield. The latest imagery confirmed that the attack on Russia's Morozovsk airfield on Saturday destroyed a Su-34 fighter bomber. Here's the satellite image showing the jets in pieces in the holding area. And we can zoom in just a little bit, and you can see debris from the explosion landed in this area, damaging at least one of these planes. But the primary target of these Ukrainian drones was the ammunition depot. Here's the satellite image before. This is July 28th. And here's the after picture. And incredibly, we have a picture on the ground. Somebody inside of Russia took this photo and posted it online. And this was the ammunition storage area for this airbase. And now it looks like the surface of the moon. Everything's gone. The other story we should follow up on is the prisoner exchange. Several Russian dissidents were released from Russian jail. It's incredible to me that Putin was willing to let these guys go. But immediately getting off the plane in Berlin, they said some pretty unusual things. They said some things that people in the West were not that proud of. Sanctions against Russia are unfair and must be removed. Ukraine must stop defending itself because too many Russians are dying. The West must stop military support for Ukraine, and Russian soldiers are the real victims. This has angered a lot of people in Ukraine, angered a lot of people supporting Ukraine. And if you think I'm embellishing what they're saying, here is Russian journalist Andrei Pivovarov. He was being held in Russian prison by Vladimir Putin. We got him out. The West got him out. And this is one of his, this is what he said shortly after being released. When it comes to supporting military force, sadly, this is unacceptable for me, since after all, I remain a Russian politician, and Pugacheva said a good phrase about this. The majority of people, he's talking about Russian soldiers in Ukraine, are forced to go there. Some are afraid, some are forced there by law, some are driven by poverty. Perhaps these people don't support democracy, some hate me personally, but to wish them death, to help their deaths, he's talking about Russian soldiers in Ukraine, is unacceptable for me. Wow. We got this guy out. We got this guy out, and this is how he speaks. So I think the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Lithuania speaks for me and a lot of other people when these Russian dissidents show their concern for ordinary Russians who are soldiers fighting in Ukraine. I would like to address the reoccurring question of those ordinary Russians who shouldn't be sanctioned. I hear talk of ordinary Russians' innocence, but then I see ordinary Russians murdering ordinary Ukrainians. I see ordinary Russian mothers saying goodbye to their ordinary Russian sons and wishing them good luck with their ordinary Russian war crimes. I see ordinary Russians celebrating murder. I see ordinary Russian parents dressing up their ordinary Russian children in military uniforms and painting the letter Z on a cardboard tank costume. I see ordinary Russians coming together to make a huge Z formation in the town square. Ordinary Russia is sick. Healing will be a long and grueling process, which can only start when Russia, not just Putin, is defeated. Without a defeat in Ukraine, Russia will just keep spreading. So about those unfair sanctions against ordinary Russians, well, anything which slows down Russia's total war machine will have ordinary Lithuanian support. Whatever victory takes, glory to Ukraine. It didn't take long for one of these Russian dissidents to flip. First day off the plane, after getting out of jail, he said, "We need to help ordinary Russians." But within 2 days, somebody talked to him, and he decided to change his tune. This Russian dissident is Ilya Yashin. He is an opposition politician. And he's a bit younger than the other guys, so maybe that had something to do with it. But within a day from that press conference, he decided to change his narrative. This is what he's saying now. If you let Putin gobble up Ukraine now, he will 100% move on. No illusions. This is what I told the representative of the German government. If it seems to you that some people in Germany, in other corridors of power, are like, let's give Putin Ukraine or part of Ukraine, and he will be satisfied with that, and then stop, this will not happen. It's already happened in world history. There was the Munich Agreement, when it was like, let's give Hitler what he wants, and that will be the end of it. No. Such agreements end with the fact that the tyrant goes further, becomes more impudent, more aggressive. Dictators and tyrants, aggressors, always perceive such gentleness and compromise as weakness. If you surrender Ukraine to Putin, you will suffer yourself, because after that Putin will definitely come to the Baltic states, to Poland. They are already threatening to do so. Listen to what they say. I was in a strict conditions barrack, in the pretrial detention center. I was in cells with TV sets. I listen to all this BS, almost every day. That sounds better. I like what this guy is saying now. Somebody just had to wake him up or explain to him that there's not a lot of sympathy right now in the West for ordinary Russians suffering under sanctions. Partisans sabotage key railway hub in occupied Donetsk. Partisans from Atesh followed up last month's destruction of railway tracks near Yekaterinburg, which was transporting North Korean ammunition by setting fire to a key railway relay. This was in Donetsk. If you don't know who Atesh is the Crimean Tatar word for fire, and this is a partisan movement in the occupied territories of Ukraine, as well as inside of Russia. And the last couple months, they've had a lot of success sabotaging rail lines. Explosions rock Russian-occupied Donbass. Fire reported at a Luhansk machinery plant. Luhansk reports that 12 Western missiles were launched at the city, and some kind of machinery plant was struck. This is kind of a funny story, but last month in Russia's Duma, they officially banned cell phones in Russian military units. So Russian military command in the Kremlin doesn't want ordinary soldiers to have cell phones because they take pictures and videos of Russians complaining or committing war crimes. So Russian commanders have been told to crack down on cell phone usage by ordinary Russians in the occupied territories. This Russian commander decided to take away their phones and then screw them to this wooden board. A different Russian commander has been taking phones and bolting them to a tree. Here's a Russian soldier admiring the phones.
Даже дудки прибивали нахуй. Долбоёбился. О, это почетное, блядь.
So apparently they're taking away vape pens as well. And if a Russian soldier is caught with an iPhone, it gets a special place of honor because Apple is an American company. This is counterproductive and stupid. Cell phones from ordinary soldiers are critical for keeping open lines of communication, for working with drones and other equipment you might need on the front lines. Ukraine has a serious technological advantage in that they're allowed to have their phones. Whereas ordinary Russian soldiers, they've never wanted this, but now it's a criminal offense in the Russian military. This is a hilarious story. Head of Russian Army's theme park, Major General, arrested on fraud charges. So this Major General was the director of Russia's Patriot Park, and he's been arrested for corruption. And this kind of sent me down a rabbit hole. What is this Patriot Park? And it's located just outside of Moscow in the city of Kubinka. And this was the picture of the park. And I just was staring at it thinking, what kind of amusement park has a giant church in the center of it? So I went to Google satellite images, and sure enough, that is a giant church as part of this weird Russian patriotic park. And apparently, Russia's new military theme park aims to inspire patriotism among youngsters. This article is from 2015. And this place is so bizarre. It's themed around equipment of the Russian military and the Soviet Union's victory in World War II. So obviously, Putin, after he took Crimea, funded this park to get 8, 9, 10-year-olds excited about Russian military equipment so they can look forward to their decades of war to rebuild the Russian Empire. But this is not what children are excited about. Where are the cartoon characters? Where are the Disney and movie characters? Like, where's the fun? I mean, if you've seen one tank, you've seen them all, if you've asked like an 8-year-old. But is there anything more Russian-themed with this Russian park than the director being arrested for corruption? At this point, Russia is just a parody of itself. They have no ability at introspection. They don't understand. Nobody in the world takes them serious anymore. I was reading this article and I was just laughing at them. It's so absurd. 3 more senior Russian military officers arrested for corruption this week. The crackdown on corruption among the upper echelons of Russia's MOD began in April and shows no likelihood of letting up. Putin waited until after his re-election to start going after the big brass who have been stealing billions from the Russian treasury and the Russian defense budget for decades. And here's the deal. This is how dictators stay in power. They know everyone's corrupt. They know everyone is stealing. When you don't have freedom and rights, you're willing to overlook that if you can make a little money for yourself and your family. So this has been, in my opinion, Ukraine's saving grace. If Russia wasn't such a corrupt country, I don't think Ukraine would have been able to withstand this invasion 2.5 years ago. Putin knows this, so he's making examples of the highest profile officers at the MOD to kind of scare everybody lower in the food chain. But once again, if you can't engage in corruption, if you can't make money for yourself, why would you tolerate being in such an oppressive and unfree society? So Putin's taking a gamble cracking down on these Russian officers, but I think it's too late. I don't think this is going to save the Russian military. Russian Space Agency says break with the West has cost them $2.1 billion. Russia's space agency Roscosmos on Monday said the break in ties with the West following Russia's invasion of Ukraine has cost them 180 billion rubles. The termination of contracts by unfriendly countries has cost Roscosmos 180 billion rubles. Russia made a lot of money sending satellites and astronauts into space. But 2.5 years ago, the West stopped giving them their money, stopped giving them their business. And this is actually sad. Russia's always had a really good space program, and I'm a big advocate of space exploration. I think this is important for the progress of human science and technology. I don't want to see Russia's space industry go bankrupt and to have all these scientists and engineers and information be lost. But Putin did it. It wasn't us. They don't deserve our business right now. Politics update. Big news this morning. We do have 90 days until the November election here in the United States. And for the first time, Vice President Kamala Harris is leading in the polls. The most famous pollster here in the United States is Nate Silver. He runs these projections, which most people view as being the most accurate. And pretty much since Donald Trump picked J.D. Vance as his running mate, Donald Trump has only gone down in the polls. Then Kamala Harris was the presumptive nominee, with Biden stepping down, and she's only been going up. Vice President Harris taps Minnesota Governor Tim Walz as her Democratic running mate. This did kind of surprise me. I wasn't thinking this was going to happen because Minnesota is not a swing state. It's usually solidly Democratic and blue. But I do think there's an angle that some people don't see. I'll explain that in a second. I do want to say for the other VP candidates, they were great. Shapiro of Pennsylvania got a, in my opinion, national boost with everyone paying attention to him for 2 weeks. I really liked Senator Kelly of Arizona, but I think the concern was if he became vice president and they pulled him out of the Senate, that Senate seat might go Republican. So I think they wanted to keep him there because he's popular in Arizona. So what you need to know about Minnesota Governor Tim Walz is he's a big supporter of Ukraine. I can share with you several tweets from his main account on Twitter. And the first one is him visiting the Ukrainian embassy to establish a formal partnership between the public, private, and academic sectors of Minnesota and the Chernihiv Oblast. This is the Ukrainian ambassador to the United States meeting with Governor Waltz. He also was part of a Zoom call with President Zelensky. He joined other U.S. governors to talk with President Zelensky to offer his support for the people of Ukraine. And here is Governor Tim Walz in April of 2022 stating, "I'm proud to sign a bill today to end state investments and contracts in Russia and Belarus. Minnesota does not tolerate the continued illegal aggression against Ukraine." You're not going to find any tweets or statements like these from Donald Trump or J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance openly supports Russia. So I am encouraged by this pick. I am learning more about Tim Walz every single day, and he seems like a really great guy. He seems like he just has such broad appeal that Kamala Harris couldn't say no to him. She wanted him to be her running mate. So Tim Walz is the highest-ranking enlisted soldier ever to serve in Congress. He enlisted in the Army National Guard when he was 17 years old and retired after 24 years, and he retired a command sergeant major and served in Operation Enduring Freedom. Here's a picture of Tim Walz when he was younger. And these photographs and videos of this guy, he is so charming, like he's so non-threatening. Here's him at the Minnesota State Fair. Here's him signing a bill guaranteeing children from lower income backgrounds free school lunches. Additionally, Tim Walz is what's known in America as Midwest niist. For people who know me, and I think a lot of people who are international don't understand what kind of American I am. I'm not a Southerner, I'm not from the West Coast, I'm not from the East Coast. I'm a Midwesterner, so I'm very familiar with people like Governor Tim Walz, and he's just a fantastic person. He's a gun owner, he's a veteran, and I think the benefits concerning the Electoral College is that Tim Walz is from Minnesota. This is a blue state. But the fastest growing counties in the state of Wisconsin, I'm from Wisconsin, are on the border with Minnesota. Minneapolis-St. Paul is known as the Twin Cities. It's about 3 million people. It's always expanding in every direction. And these counties on the Wisconsin border are filling up with people from Minnesota. And tapping the governor of Minnesota will help Kamala Harris win the state of Wisconsin, my home state. I went to university at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. Culturally, I'm very familiar with this region. I think African Americans are excited to vote for Harris in Milwaukee and Madison, and now rural Democrats, familiar with Governor Tim Walz, on the western part of Wisconsin, will be excited to vote for the ticket as well. Overall, smart choice. I think, once again, Kamala is going to win in November. Let's get to the good news for Ukraine. Ukraine received a $3.9 billion grant from the United States for budget support. This is a non-repayable grant through the World Bank. Ukraine deploys German Skynex air defense systems. I can't say that word without thinking of the Terminator, but this is a real thing. Skynex air defense system is produced by Rheinmetall, and these trucks delivered from Germany, thank you Germany, I think will be placed around critical infrastructure in Ukraine, and they're good at shooting down drones. Lithuania allocates $9.8 million for Ukrainian refugee support. Thank you so much to the people of Lithuania. And we've got Olympic news. Ukrainian gymnast Kovtun wins silver in the Paris Olympics. So this Ukrainian gymnast won the silver medal for the parallel bars. And then we have potentially, I think, Ukraine's top athletes. Ukraine secures gold and bronze in the women's Olympic high jump. So this woman, if you don't know her name is Yaroslava Mahuchik, and she currently holds the world record for women's high jump. And her style definitely got people's attention at the Olympics because in between her jumps, she would take naps. So when it wasn't her turn to jump, she would go over to her board and get in her sleeping bag and try and take naps between her jumps. It's pretty interesting, and if that's her system and it works, then it works, but she's an Olympic gold medalist and the world record holder now. Pretty incredible. Final clip I want to share with you is from Ukrainian journalist Ilya Ponomarenko. He was invited to visit a charity-funded veteran care and rehabilitation center in Kyiv. These guys are providing extensive care to over 20 disabled combat veterans with severe amputations. I just want to share a little bit of this video. This is a really nice facility, and apparently this dog's name is Bayraktar. If you want to support this facility, they do have a donation link for both PayPal and Monobank. I'll put them down below if you're interested. That's all for this update video. Glory to Ukraine, glory to the heroes. If you found this video informative, give me a thumbs up. Best way to support the channel. Comments and questions, let me know down below. I love hearing from you guys. Till the next video, keep defending the truth, keep defending democracy.